Okay, here we go. We are golden. We are golden. All right.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys. You say you're jealous?
Jealous of these tunes, man.
You will get there. I promise you will. I promise you will. I want to thank all you guys for showing up today. Everybody out there listening, wherever you're listening from, wherever you're watching from, we appreciate you being here with us. Yeah. I've been on my grind. Yes. And we are back with another episode of the Dope Individuals Only podcast. I'm Erik, the host, and I'm up here with another dope individual. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I am legal name Addy, but I go by Attitude the Host also.
Hey. Please shout out your platform where the people can follow you at, because she also runs her own podcast.
Yes, learning from the best right here. Learning from the best. The Attitude Lounge podcast. You can find me on Instagram, on YouTube. Still working out the YouTube channel, but Facebook, and also TikTok. But I don't know what's happening with TikTok.
TikTok's like up in the air right now. It was gone, I was back, and it might be gone again in 60 days.
Yeah.
It's really weird what's going on. I want to say thank you guys out there listening and watching from YouTube. We appreciate you. Make sure you stick around. We're going to be here for an hour. We got a great show lined up for you guys. We got a great, very dope individual up here with us as well. Very battle tested. And man, let's get into some of this stuff here. So we were just having a conversation before we cut the cameras on about death. Mm-hmm. I know this is a pretty dark spot to start at, but it's inevitable.
Correct.
It's something we're all going to, if you're here, it's something that you're going to experience.
It's the one thing that we all have in common. We're going to experience that. You're going to die.
And paying taxes.
I'm going to die. Oh, my goodness, yes. Let's not even go there. But, and I think we can, I think we need to normalize that a little better, because it's such a taboo subject to touch upon.
I agree.
It's uncomfortable for many people.
I agree.
And even for myself, I would say 8 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to speak about that because I was uncomfortable with it when my mother wanted to discuss it. And I learned through her and through the process of losing my father, losing my mother. Recently, this past summer, lost a friend and who's also the wife of my cousin. So, you learn from those experiences and also from what it takes to be able to get through that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think that it's common, and I'm just going to say in the United States, and I think last time you were at my house and we were talking, I called it an epidemic.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe that's a little too
drastic.
Too drastic, right? But I ended up tapping into a funeral director, James Funeral Home, and I spoke to Lou James, the owner, who I feel like I've been speaking to him that now I feel like we're friends. But
shout out to James.
Yeah, James Funeral Home. Yes, yeah, he's a dope individual too, man. He's because it takes very special people to work that.
I want to get into that too. Yes.
Takes very, very kind-hearted, special people with lots of patience.
I used to think that you had to be sick to do something like that. Like that was always my thing about it. It's funny, my wife yesterday was actually, she follows a couple morticians on TikTok.
Okay.
And I come out the shower and I hear this guy talking, and you always get weird questions in the comment section. And I'm sorry if this makes you uncomfortable, but all I hear when I walk out is, yes, I have had to remove a tampon from a corpse before. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, just like what do I walk into? Yeah. But I used to think it was like you had to be like sick to do that job.
Right.
But somebody has to do it.
Right. And I think we think that way, right? I don't know if you ever remember, you might be too young, but 6 Feet Under, like, it
sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was about like a funeral home and all this embalming. And it was, most of these, what people don't realize is that they're always named after somebody because it's kind of like family owned. So it's the name of the family. A lot of people that work them, there are family members.
Yeah.
If you're lucky and let's say you got a job in one of them, like as in high school, and they groomed you,
Yeah.
they help you and say, hey, go to funeral director's program. And when you graduate, we'll hire you. But that's rare. And I talk about that like I'm not an expert. I have to say this. I'm not an expert.
You just been talking to James.
Well, no, before that, I actually worked at Northampton Community College, which is one of two colleges in the state of Pennsylvania who have a funeral director's program.
That's news to me. That's interesting.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I got to go into the places, and see the bodies and all that kind of stuff. But throughout the years...
Wait, they let you see what?
Well, this was years ago. Throughout the years, I say maybe half of my years there, like at the beginning, I was able to see that. They enacted laws that then you couldn't to the point that if we were doing campus tours, we couldn't go into that area whatsoever. And then they blocked off even like windows from
like outside being able to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, being able to see the classrooms, because sometimes there's also guidelines that only so many people can be around the body, and then they have all these cameras. And so half of the class is inside the other classroom viewing what these people are doing.
Like as far as like a dissection, like where they're...
Well, yeah, embalming. So they basically embalm. They would get bodies donated, people who maybe, sometimes, this is sad, but sometimes elderly people don't claim them.
Yeah, I read about that, about a lot of people, their bodies and their belongings going unclaimed.
And sometimes, so then it's like the county then is responsible to send them. And so these are the students will work on these bodies. And when they work on them, one of the things that students used to tell me was like, you can tell who's been abusing their bodies, when they get to do the embalming and things of that nature.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And then, homelessness also, they get that. And so, they embalm and they learn from that, which I think it's great because, they're preparing that person their last time here on this earth.
Yeah.
And they're being treated with respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think in essence, that's great, but it takes special people to do that. And here's the thing. So when I used to do the campus tours, I always used to tell those who were interested that it's like, 80% of the work is actually talking to families, making the arrangements. The smaller portion is actually doing the embalming.
Dealing with the body.
So this is the reason why it takes special people to speak to other people who are grieving, who are breaking down in front of you, And in essence, it's a business.
It is.
So then, you're talking to people that have lost somebody, but then you're saying this is going to cost this much. And,
you got to tread real lightly. Talk about walking on eggshells.
Yeah. Because, I went through it and I just feel like it was like a big blur, and one of the things that, after retirement and I feel like after I retire, I've been growing more emotionally and spiritually, but also just like, woo!
That's what I'm talking about.
It's never too late. I say you can't stay stagnant. You have to grow. You have to try new things, get out, move, walk. There's a million things you can do to better your life.
I agree. It's hard. It'd be hard.
It's hard. The discipline aspect is hard.
That's just hard.
Yeah, trust me. Listen, I like to, what the little I can do in working out, I like to do it, but getting to that point is like, oh, it's cold. You find any excuse
not to go.
Yeah.
It's always weird trying to do things for the betterment of yourself because, like, going to the gym is a great example. It's like, I might have to do it late or I might have to do it really early. Do I want to take another shower? It's cold outside. Do I want to come out and I'm sweaty and it's cold?
Yeah.
And you do all those things. And then in the chance that you do go and you work out, you typically feel awesome.
You do.
Awesome. I know I always do, but I don't know why. Like
you
when
feel
I got
awesome, you feel accomplished.
Right? You feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
You want to stand in the mirror just a little bit longer than normal, but then the next day wakes up and the pain from the awesomeness kicked in, and now you're like, I never want to do that shit again.
Now you need 2 days of recovery,
right?
not one.
And then by 48 hours, you might have just broken the pattern by then.
Yeah. So discipline is right. And discipline, we can talk about discipline in this aspect because these are hard conversations to have for everybody. They're full of emotions. A lot of people think, like in my experience, right? Because this is all about my experience and the little bit I've learned from here and there. And it's like, they're emotional, right? But what I'm learning too is those emotions can be turned into positives. We're looking at them as negatives, as anxiety, where it could be, no, I'm anxious to discuss this because it's going to be a better outcome for me at the end, and it's going to be a better outcome for the people who love me, the people I love, my family, my friends. And I mention friends because another epidemic that I think exists ever since GoFund started is it's like, people think that, you start doing all these collections, and I'm the kind of person that I've been through it, so I know what it's like. And this is why it's so important to start putting money away, to go and take your first steps, get educated about what you need to do so that in the long run, because no matter how much you GoFund or no matter how much collections you do, it's not going to cover everything.
I tell everybody I know, especially if they have children, get life insurance. Everybody should have life insurance. And I know for people that, they've had some challenges health-wise earlier in their life, they might have to pay a little bit more for their premiums. Like,
so glad you're bringing that up. That's in my notes. That's in my to-do here.
I know that's one thing. You got like high blood pressure, you smoke cigarettes, and you skydive or whatever. Like when you do things and you're more risky, it costs a little bit more.
It does.
But it is, I think it is essential for every single person because we've had to bury people and they didn't have any money. And then I'll speak from my personal perspective. I didn't come from a family with money. So my mom never had it, but my mom was always there. And I told my mom maybe like 5 years ago, I said, Mom, listen, I love you and I want to be prepared for the day that you're going to transition. I said, but everything is going to fall on me.
Yeah.
My sister has a lot of responsibility. She has 4 children. Yeah. My younger brother, he's still trying to figure his life out. So I'm pretty much the only one with some footing. I was like, Mom, it's all gonna fall on me. And I was like, that stuff's expensive. I was like, I just need you to go get like a $10,000 policy. I was like, at the bare minimum, I'm like, I could figure out anything else, but I need you to do that. And my mom went out and she got $10,000 worth of life insurance just so we wouldn't be blindsided and asked out, essentially.
And what's happening with life insurance is that some people may have it, but they've never looked at it. They don't know if it expired. Yep. They don't know if it has some stipulations that then it says, this is only
we're not going to pay you out for this.
This happens. And so you have to be mindful of all those things. So going, and the sooner you go get life insurance, the better, because as you get older, you develop more things, right?
And
so
if you already got that policy in place.
Right. Yeah. So I have life insurance, but at some point, it's only covered to X amount of age, and then I have to think, what am I going to do about that? How to renew it
or something, yeah.
But then I've had underlying conditions after that, so I know it's going to cost me more.
Yeah.
Because right now, I'm a cancer survivor, and I...
You gotta give it up. Not everybody wins. Not everybody wins.
That's right. Oh, that's a whole different topic. Yeah, but yeah. And those who survive, it's hard to watch those who leave and don't win. But what happens is, like, sometimes people go, and what I did was, when I talked to James, I said, James, I'm gonna go and throw this out, but I think it's an epidemic. He's like, it is. And I was like,
meaning as in what's an epidemic?
An epidemic that people are not ready for this. An epidemic that he sees it more and more when they go in to make arrangements.
And they don't
have
no
life insurance, nothing in place. They don't know how much this is going to cost. And these are the kind of things. And
this is America. Everything costs money. Everything. To die costs money.
Yes. Well, even to donate your body to science. If it was free,
Really?
oh yeah, if it was free, imagine everybody will be signing up. There's not it's not going to be as expensive, but you have to find a reputable place. And where do you go for that? Like,
I forget what country it is, but maybe like 10 years ago, a country, so I don't remember where it is. I have to find it. But they started, because, graveyards take up a lot of space. People die by the thousands every day.
Yes.
So you can only bury so many people. You can only give so much land to people who are no longer here.
Correct.
So they were like, how do we do this? And what they decided was they're going to put people like essentially in a biodegradable sack.
Yeah.
And then they're going to bury them, and their body is going to help nourish the tree. So they plant them with seeds essentially to grow trees.
Yeah,
and
I've heard
the
of
body
that.
decomposing helps the tree.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
You're essentially giving a life to more
To a
life.
tree, yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
and I absolutely loved it. And they started doing this, and they planted damn near a whole forest, like in a 10-year span.
Yeah.
Because this is what people were deciding to do. Instead of getting cremated or buried somewhere, they were
Right.
turning themselves into trees. And I absolutely love that, because even though you're no longer here in the physical, you left something behind. You left something behind in the physical. Like,
absolutely.
I thought it was so dope. And then they started, you can get a plaque on the tree. So whoever was buried with it,
Yeah.
and that's your tombstone, and you're giving back to the planet.
Yeah,
I thought it was
like
beautiful.
that idea. One of the things I'm contemplating is donating my body to science, not because it's cheaper, but I was looking into it, but I just kind of glanced at it, and I found out that there's costs in transportation, like, and it could be maybe the whole outcome could be like $1,000 versus, let's say, if you go to a place like James Funeral or Heron, which that's who I use for my mom. They are kind of very compatible in prices. So you're looking at $10,500 for like your traditional.
The basics.
Well, yeah, you get a plot, you get a plot, but then the first dig is more expensive than so a single plot, technically they call them single plots, but 2 caskets fit in there.
They stack on top, right? Yeah.
But when you go, the first person that goes in, you have to dig further, so that's a more expensive dig than the second person that goes in. Things I didn't even know when I had it.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I had to search into that, to do some research into that, which I had started my mom started doing, the funeral home, but I then had to go in and say, well, I need to buy a plot. How am I going to get this done? So a lot of people are opting to cremate.
Yeah.
Because it's more cost effective, but it's still, you might be looking at, with services and so forth, you could be looking at $6,000-$7,000,
It's less, but it's still a decent amount of money.
It's still decent. And some people opt to also bury, the ashes or put them in a niche, and that's an additional cost too.
Yeah.
What people don't realize too, and this is something I had to learn, is so in a regular burial, so you have the plot, right? That's included in the $10,000. You have the service, but it's usually a daytime service. If you also want a night service, that's additional money that's not included in that. And you can't blame these funeral homes. It is a business, but they have to keep the lights on. They have to maintain
I
a
understand.
building. They have to maintain parking lots.
They got to pay people.
They have to pay people.
They got to make it look nice outside. They got to,
Yeah. And that being an entrepreneur, so it's not just, hey, it's a business, in essence, it's like, that's probably like, very average.
Yeah.
Now, there are some other places that are more grand, so they cost more,
Yeah. How do you think we change the conversation, or how do you think we start having these conversations? Because, we started this by saying everybody who's here today is gonna go through this. So how do we, as a society, as a culture, as just individuals, open up these dialogues? Because they are tough conversations, especially when you are young, when you're 29 years old, and I know a lot of people don't think, people go, oh, midlife, and they're thinking 50. Midlife is realistically like 36, 38 years old, somewhere within that ballpark,
right,
based on life expectancy. So just legitimately 9 years, I could possibly be midlife.
Yeah.
Just at 9 years for me. So these are conversations that we need to have and sooner than later, because anything can happen.
Anything we have no control over. We know that we're going to leave. We don't know when or how.
Yep. This was I randomly came out. A family friend died, and this is what made me have the conversation with my mother. When I had children, my wife and I made it a thing to go out and get life insurance, just because a lot of changes in a small amount of time happened, and our children kind of were like, we have to be able to maintain all this just in case, so they have to have something. And that was like my thing for going out and having that little bit of preparation. But like, I didn't do no will yet. I tried to write a will once. It didn't work out very well. It was weird.
Yeah. So part of and again, I'm not an expert, but I think watching this video, even if you don't know how to talk to your parents, or if it's the parents trying to
talk to you,
trying to talk to you,
preparation.
Yeah, they may think you're not ready to hear this. This would be a good video to just share with people and say, listen to what they have to say. No, we don't have all the answers, and you'll have to do some homework, and you'll have to also determine, do you have a savings? Do you have life insurance?
Yeah.
One of the things I did was I actually was on Amazon, and no, I'm not getting paid by Amazon or nothing, but I have a hate-love relationship with them, because I like local. But go to a local bookstore, try and find like a planner for your transition, your end of life, because I started looking at one and says, oh, this is pretty easy. They ask you all the questions you need to answer in an organized way. To
be prepared for
life insurance. Who's your beneficiary? Now here's where it gets tricky. You're talking about property. When you talk about property, when you're talking about child custodies, all of that kind of stuff, you need a trust.
Yeah.
And I'm not an attorney.
I
recommend you, just like you get your nails done, just like you go on vacation, put some money aside, go talk to an attorney. But go talk to an attorney that knows what they're doing.
Yes.
Sometimes you never know. Talk to your neighbor. They may already have this in place,
and they might know a guy
or a sibling of yours. They may not have spoken to you about it, but they may have it, or you just never know. Go talk to people, because sometimes it's better to word of mouth. That's still like a good way to.
It's a great way to network, to find, like you said, someone who's good at what they do.
Yes.
Just because you can do it doesn't mean you're good at it. Doesn't mean you're gonna have my best interest.
Correct.
So,
they make mistakes too, and I learned that. I was, I'm trying to follow all these people, and there's this person locally that has a trust firm, and this is what she's going out there. I think it might have been early January or December, can't remember, that she was at the Bethlehem Public Library doing a chat, and she's everywhere doing chats.
And she runs her own trust company, you said?
She did, but I don't know her name. I'll have to maybe
you gotta
share
give me the
that
link,
with you and share the link, because I don't know how reparable she is, but what she's doing is she's utilizing her family. So I think they have 4 small children, and one of the things she says, I did have a trust in place, but you put it away, and then you forget to update it. In anything, you have another child, you have to update it.
Yeah.
Something happens differently, you have to update things. Sometimes we're good to like do the first original draft, and then we put it away,
enough.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I forgot it. Where's that will?
I think trust. I've been learning more about trust over the past 24 years. They're not only. I agree with you. That's where you should put it at. Like, a will is good. A will just pretty much only tells them who you want things to go to, but it doesn't really.
And it could be challenged.
And if
you put your kids there, even custody.
But the spouse or your new wife might want to fight that, things like that. So the trust is definitely a lot more bulletproof from what I've learned. And not only that, the trust. If you make the trust the beneficiary of a lot of things, you get to save money on taxes.
Like 20%.
You know what I mean?
That's a lot.
That's starting generational wealth. I know, like, we have a business, we have a house that we own, and all these things I plan on putting under that. So my kids don't have to fight with the bank or have to pay the bank money or back taxes on things. Nope. The trust owns it all. You can't charge the trust that.
Yeah.
So I really like the fact that you brought up the trust. That's
oh my
great.
goodness, yeah, because I'm also learning about it. Because I started writing a will, and a couple of years ago, like a couple of family members asked me to write their will, but I said to them, "Yo, I'm not an expert in this. You really should go to an attorney and look and really, just to be able to do the right thing, so nobody gets hurt in the long run, right?"
Yeah.
And sometimes people put things, they're like, "Oh, I don't have the money for that." You have to make the time. You have to save, even if whatever check you get, however it is that you're getting paid, pay yourself and put it aside.
Yeah.
And then that's the money. Then go make an appointment with an attorney who specializes in that, so that less mistakes are made. One of the things this lady mentioned, and gosh, I wish I would have known, but that she mentioned is that they had one, but then they realized that she started getting, more educated in it. She found out, like, well, wait, we didn't cover the fact that, okay, we have kids and it's there, but then we said that we want this person, if in case something happens to both of them, to take care of them, but they live, in another, in another city, in another state.
Yeah.
So what happens between the time that something happens to them versus the time that person for custody arrives? You have to have a plan in
Plan in
between.
place for that, yeah.
Especially if you don't want your kids to end up in certain hands.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
9 times out of 10, they'll probably end up in like CPS for however long that takes. And anything is liable to occur at that point.
Right. And sometimes, even if it's a family member, they may not be equipped to take care.
Yeah,
you
that
know?
too. That
You
is
just
that
have
is
to
very,
be, you have to be, it's clarity. All this is going to bring clarity. So you have to take this, take this as, what's my step number one to do? That is, watch this video. What's step number two?
You got to get me that video so I can tag it for the people in the description.
Yes.
Okay.
What's that, second thing, you do, like, make sure that you're because even, you have adult children, they should also have something in place.
Yes.
Just like we're talking. So
Yep.
this could be a whole family thing. If you don't have any of this in place, you can watch this video and you can go and schedule
A
appointments.
family meeting. Call a family meeting and work it out.
Yeah, yes.
I love that.
And by doing this, you think about it. This is like the last thing you get to do for your family. This is the last thing you get to do for them in a way that it's like would bring clarity and then would have peace of mind. Because we know that when we lose somebody, there's a lot of emotions there. And so it's hard when you have to tuck away your emotions because you're conducting the business aspect of it.
Yeah.
And when that's in place, you're leaving your loved ones with a gift, and that is you just get to grieve. In a sense, you don't get to
beautiful.
worry about this.
Yeah.
You know?
This part is taken care of. We
It's
can just
taken care
focus
of it,
on
yes.
on how we feel and getting through this tough time.
Yeah. And the other thing is you can call funeral homes. They are by law, required to answer any of your questions. You can make an appointment and go in person. You can just call and schedule like a phone appointment if for some reason, you can't drive or something like that. And I encourage you, when I had to do it, I got a notebook. And every place I called, I had all the data. So, well, how much is this? How much is this transportation? How much is this other thing? Because some of them will fluctuate a little bit.
Was that tough for you?
Oh, yeah. That was super tough. Yeah, that was super tough. I just, before coming here, my friend called me. It was for some other thing. But right away, we jumped into this. And one of the things she was saying, oh, I'm writing my mother's eulogy. Because this is the friend that said, her mother said, right? In order for you to pass, the only requirement is that you live.
Mm-hmm.
That's the requirement.
You got to go through it. You got to go through life.
You got to go through life and enjoy. We know we're going to go. So take advantage of every moment you have with your loved ones. Again, do what anything you wanted that you thought about doing, go without any regrets. Do it.
I was going to ask you that. Do you have anything that you wish you did a little bit sooner than how you handle things now?
I think for me, what was difficult was when my mother was ready to talk about it. I was diagnosed with cancer, and I had not even told her yet. And so
Ooh, that's tough.
So it was like she was, trying to. She says, "I went. Look, I got these pamphlets," and I was just like, in a different headspace. So it was tough for me, but I wish I would have done this way sooner, to the point that my friend, as we were talking earlier, she said, I'm writing the eulogy because I want to be present. And I want her to know how I feel about her. And I want her to know, what's going to be said. And, one of the things that sometimes they tell you in hospice, but by that time it's too late, is record, tell your parents to leave you voicemails, text voicemails so that you can save them.
Hear the
but
voice
they're
again.
Healthy, to hear their voice again. Exactly.
My mother kept my grandmother's voicemail she sent for years. And she would, and for me, I always I thought she was just torturing herself. But for years, whenever she was feeling like I miss my mother, she got to hear her voice.
Because we grieve in different ways. And grieving is different for everyone. That's another thing. Because sometimes people say, oh, I know what it's like. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Grieving is going to be based on the relationship you have with that person.
I was going to say, everybody thinks losses, that all losses are equal. Like, oh, you lost a dog, I lost a dog. Yeah. You don't know how much time I put in with this animal kind of thing.
Yeah. As I grow, one of the things I live by now is I do not ask anyone for their opinions or their advice who has not walked in my shoes. So and not, I'm not trying to be mean about it. It's just things I've learned, because sometimes we take advice from people who've had different experiences, and they're only sharing their experience,
their perspective,
and that wasn't yours. You know what I mean? And
that makes a lot of sense.
And I think it's almost like this epidemic too of people compare. People love to compare, and it's like every time you compare, you're devaluing somebody.
Yep. I do not compare myself to anyone.
Yeah.
I do not. Because there's only one me.
Exactly.
There's only one me.
Our individuality is important, and we need to embrace it, we need to embrace that.
I think that goes back to people just not having a lack of faith in themselves and thinking that they can't add value. And I can speak to that because I used to feel that way. I always thought my value came from what I could offer people or what I could do for people. Yeah. And then I realized when I started to change my circle and grow a little bit and evolve spiritually, I realized it was my presence. I walk into rooms and people are happy to see me. Yeah. And my smile makes somebody else smile. I always felt it was contingent upon something.
Yeah.
Until I realized until I stopped doing things that I felt I needed to do. And then I started to see the changes.
Speak. Yeah. You have, right. And when you see those changes, you feel them, and because changing your circle is a big growth process.
Yeah.
It's a big,
and it's hard.
It's hard and it hurts.
It hurts, yeah.
But sometimes, sometimes I plug in God, right? And I say sometimes God takes people away who weren't meant to be there, and they put you in a different place because that's where you need to be, right? And then you need to embrace that and grow with it. You want to be able to walk into rooms that you're being celebrated by people who celebrate you, by people who look at you, and who are excited to see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And who speak well of you.
And that's the other thing too. I realized there was a time in my life where I would hang with people just because of the history. And they just stayed there a little too long, just because I was uncomfortable with the fact of having to go out and make new relationships.
Yes.
That's a daunting task and sometimes you be at a point in your life where it's I don't have the time to do this anymore. I don't have the energy to do this anymore.
It is. I talked to a couple of episodes ago in my podcast. I talked about how I was one of these persons. I'd be like, I don't need no more friends. I got enough. I don't need no more. But it was that task of having to grow, having to learn new things. And now I've changed that. Now it's I do. I need different people in my circle.
Yeah.
Because, not everybody's meant to stay there.
Yeah.
It's okay to grow in different directions. That's okay. You have to be okay with that. And people need to be okay. But, those that are not okay, what I have to say is, well, that's your problem, not mine anymore.
That sounds like a you problem. I want to lighten this up a little bit. I want to talk about the hill that you picked to die on, because I do not agree with this at all. I'm actually like, I'm a
You're offended.
I'm offended. All right, so do you remember the hill you picked that you're willing to die on? She's willing to die on this hill.
On my cheeseburger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell the people the hill that you're willing to die on, because I can't believe it.
So listen, I used to be one of these people that I used to love my what was it, Whopper.
Okay.
With all the trimmings.
Okay.
But as I've gotten older, I just look at that and I'm like, it's messy. And I can't taste the meat. So I don't, first and foremost, I just don't eat in fast food places like that anymore.
That's it.
You know, it's just not healthy.
Yeah.
I like to make my own burgers, or I like to go. So not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, I went with a friend to Billy's downtown. And
Billy's Downtown Burger?
Yeah.
I have yet to go there, and I've been planning on going there like a decade. Never.
Yeah, you got to go. So I order their burgers, and it's like, and I order it medium well. I don't like it well. I don't like, when you dry
Too hot,
up.
pink, yeah.
No, you dry up. It
medium
needs to
well's
be juicy.
good.
And
yeah.
I like it, but I want to be able to savor that meat. And I feel with all the trimmings, like it just takes away from that.
Now, what do you mean by the trimmings?
I'm talking about having your burger with a salad. What? So the waitress comes up and I say, what do you want? It says a burger. Oh, do you want lettuce, tomatoes? And I looked at my friend and I'm like, do you want salad on your burger? And she started laughing.
Oh my gosh.
But she chuckled and she knew what I was talking about. I said, no, I just want like my burger. Onions? No onions.
What? You're killing me here.
Yeah.
So
well,
no lettuce, no
mind,
tomato, no onion.
I will tell you, I don't mind onions if they're sauteed, but the raw onions, and honestly, it's medical. That just kills my stomach.
Okay. That's understandable.
I like onions, but
Okay.
But it just kills my stomach. And
Okay.
I don't think, like if you would do some sauteed onions, I think my burger's still safe.
Sauteed onions is super underrated, I think. The onion is probably my favorite vegetable.
It is tasty. I miss
Yeah.
it. I miss it. Yeah.
Oh man, but the lettuce and tomato, they just complement burgers so well. Now, the one thing I will say is the messiness, because like you put the lettuce and tomato, and then you might put a little mustard or ketchup, and then now it's sliding all over the place.
You started out with your
and now you're pinching the back of it so you can eat. So I understand that, but like, I don't know. I feel like that's part of the experience of a burger.
I've lived longer than you, so I'm done with that experience, man.
and Burger King is not real food.
No, none of that's not. You could make really good burgers yourself.
Oh yeah.
And that's another thing. I don't like. I salt and pepper. I don't want, when I do my burgers, or even like when I do a steak, I like, like some rosemary on top of it and some butter.
Maybe
but
a
I
little
don't
garlic or something.
Yeah, I don't like to drown it with too many things, because then it loses the taste for me.
Yes. And I think beef is one of those things where like you should taste the flavor of the meat. Like you don't want it to taste like whatever you're seasoning it with.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. Because the steak, I kind of do this. I might get like a steak rub, or I might make a homemade steak rub. But for the most part, it's salt and pepper, just like you.
Yeah.
Maybe some garlic.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get that thing nice and seared on both sides.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed though about the lettuce and tomato, because me, like when I eat a burger, like one of my favorite places to go to get a burger is Red Robin.
Oh, okay.
And the one with the egg on it though. You put the fried egg on it, and then you bite into it, and then the yolk. Those things are top notch.
I like eggs though. I don't know with my burger though. Not.
So wait, so you can't eat onions because what is it, like acidic or something?
It's very acidic for me,
Okay.
and it just like really tears up my stomach. So
Yeah.
Like in to the point that I used to love salads, like not in my burger, but I used to love salads, and so. But I stopped eating a lot of it because what I used to love is the onions and all that. And it's like I can't eat it no more. So it's like...
I don't think it's a salad. I don't think it's a salad without like onions. Like I think salads have to have something, like it can't just be lettuce and tomato and dressing.
Gotta have some cheese in it.
Yeah, you throw a little bit of cheese, like a boiled egg, hard-boiled egg or something like that. Like, but you got to throw some cucumbers. You got to throw something different in there. It can't just be lettuce and tomato.
Oh, yeah.
I love cucumbers,
man. And you could put cucumbers in anything.
Anything. And it just brings this thing of just freshness to whatever it touches.
It is, and it's
refreshing.
It's good for you. It's good for you too.
I mean, it's like 95% water.
Exactly.
And it's still solid, which is absolutely like astonishing.
Yeah, you could give that to your pets too.
What, the cucumbers?
Yeah.
Just certain things. I don't know. I'm a weird person. Like when it comes to like feeding animals stuff, I don't feed them certain things because it's just like this isn't what dogs are supposed to have or cats.
Yeah. Well, they say like even like fruits and well, you got to be careful though, because like with dogs also you have to be very careful. Not every they shouldn't be eating everything, but like watermelon is like a good like summer thing to give them because it's very hydrating.
You wasting watermelon on dogs? Listen, if it falls on a pavement, you can have it, okay, Axel or Abby. But what?
Yeah, well, when I did have a dog, she was extra. So
yeah. Well, is she greedy?
She was a Shih Tzu, man. But the smaller the dog, they think the bigger the bark. You know,
like, bro, you're 3 pounds. Relax, okay?
Yeah. So I have my little like pet peeves and stuff like that. But
you're gonna have to die on that hill by yourself. I'm sorry.
Listen, I know people who will die on the hill with me. So
I'd love to see the congregation of people you have found that will not accept lettuce and tomato.
Okay,
on
maybe
burgers.
one or two. But.
So I have a question. So what do you just eat it with cheese?
Cheese and I like ketchup, a little bit of ketchup. Now I like my ketchup.
I'm not tripping off that. That's okay.
Yeah.
So it's a regular base.
Because my thing is. I like pickles. I like pickles. Yeah,
pickles are
I
good
do
on
like pickles. Every now and then I'll sneak in the pickles.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
I do
all right,
like
all
that.
right.
And even in a sandwich, I'll eat the pickles.
I'm gonna let you live. You get to survive today. All right. You don't have to die on the hill, but you're gonna stand up there by yourself. So I wanna take this back to the conversation because I think there's some points that we can still get to for this thing that inevitably we're all going to experience. I myself used to have a very big fear of dying. When it's funny, I was working on my book today and
ooh, give yourself some shout out for that, man.
Thank you. It was supposed to be out last year.
It's okay.
I guess better late than never. But I was working on it today and I was on a chapter that I wrote and it's about all of the friends that I lost in my teen years. And in a matter of about 2.5 years, I probably lost 6 friends, like friends. They weren't like people
heavy.
that I just knew. Yeah. And all those losses pushed me to think like, am I next? I keep seeing my friends die and they're all dying from different things. One was murder, one wrapped his car around a pole, one died in a house fire, one died from a health issue, and it was just all these different things. And it kind of made me feel like, they're going from everything. Like
what's
it's not
happening,
just
right?
what's happening and like is it me? Like is it me next? Like kind of thing. So I used to have this very deep fear of dying. And for a long time I also didn't believe in God. Yeah. Like I always thought there was something, but I didn't know what it was. And I was never content with the version I got from Bibles and stuff like that. So
and the Bible's such a difficult book.
It is.
It's a difficult
I think the fact that there's so many versions also like is very complicated. Like you got people who read the New Testament or Old Testament. You got people that are Baptist and Catholic and Christian and it's like,
and you have people that use the Bible for their own purposes.
That too, to shame and
and it's just like, come on, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. Don't put out a verse. If you're going to put out a verse, put an explanation of that
speak
verse.
on it. Speak on it. Put some testimony to it. Yeah, let the people know
if you're
why
going to teach.
Teach, yeah.
Don't just copy and paste.
I agree.
Because of the interpretation of it, you're not helping anywhere because everybody's going to interpret that in a different way. And
they're not going to read it at all. Because
what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean to me? There ain't no connectivity to that.
Yeah, and then you have other people saying amen, amen. Amen to what?
Yeah.
It was just a verse. Copied and paste. Like, put some teeth into it.
Yeah. Add some
soul, some flavor.
Sprinkle some on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to have this big fear. And one day, around during the pandemic, we're all stuck at home. My life took a very, very different trajectory after that. I used to be a truck driver and musician. And then 2020, my job closed down. They sold it to another company. I didn't want to go aboard.
Right.
And then the pandemic happened. Then we were locked in our homes for 6 months.
Yeah.
So around this time, I got really depressed. this was also around the same time I ran for local politics and I
Okay.
lost. So I was going through a lot of different transitions in a very small amount of time. And one day I was high. I was sitting at home and my wife's in the bed and she's scrolling. And then I hear this video and she follows like a lot of different persons on her social media. I mean, I was just telling you about the mortician.
Right.
But she's following some medium from Australia.
Okay.
And the video starts out, 5 reasons you shouldn't be afraid of dying. And I was like, let's hear this shit. So,
That's right.
so I'm sitting there.
Speak on it.
Yeah. I'm sitting there next to her in bed and I'm listening, but I'm acting like I'm watching what's on TV. And she went through the 5 reasons and I don't exactly remember what they were, but in 45 seconds, this woman had cured me of the fear of something that was inevitable.
Right.
And essentially, after that, it just led me on like this long spiritual journey that I like, even to this moment in time, I'm still on.
Yeah.
And like, it seems like every couple months, every year is taking me through different turns.
Because growth is not easy.
Yeah, no.
No, yeah.
And it ain't a straight line.
No,
I think people think like time.
We steer away from our growth sometimes and we're like, yo, wait a second.
Yeah.
Snap back into this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Just like the gym where it's like, I gotta get back on track. I was good for
Yes.
2 weeks. And that's
I drift all the time.
I do too. And like sometimes I gotta pull myself back. It's like, Eric, it happens.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. What matters is getting back on track, that kind of thing. And I was so afraid of dying from all the experiences that I had as a teenager and then like losing my grandmother and everything like that. But then I read a book. I read my first book of the year. It's called The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. And during the book, he says something profound. It was like, we all grieve and we're all sad when people pass away. It was like, but you're grieving not because they died, but because you lost something. And essentially, I'm paraphrasing here. It was like, yes, you did lose something, but you also gained something. Mm-hmm. You gained the experience of sharing that time with that person and everything that they left you with. Yeah. And ultimately, the book went into other things like about the fact like that there's an afterlife. That's what the book was also conveying and stuff like that. I know some people don't believe it. I personally do. Yeah. I don't think this is it.
Yeah.
I don't. I'd like to know. Do you?
I feel that the transition takes you in. I feel like God opens up the doors to a whole different transition. And I feel like that you do connect with people. You'll like, my mom was always one of these people. She would dream and like her dreams would come true. And I would be like, oh, Mom, stop. Oh, Mom, this. And I feel like I'm like that now. Like I sometimes I have dreams and I'm like, oh, like I get it. I get it, And for me, one of the dreams that she had before she passed was that she saw her mom.
She saw her mom
reaching out for her.
Wow.
Yeah, that was very profound, reaching out for her. And that, at the time it happens, right, you're so broken that you don't see it as such an honor, I guess.
As a beautiful thing.
As a beautiful thing. But as time has passed, it's like I feel more at peace that I know that grandma was there to receive her. Yeah. Because I think there's still like some hurdles that you have to go through in that transition to be able to get to that other afterlife, Do
you think there's a heaven?
I think there's a heaven.
You think so?
Yeah. I think there's, I believe in that. I believe that it's green pastures, just like the Bible says, that it's a beautiful place where your pain has been taken away, your spirit, that's where it lives.
Yeah.
It's almost like your I don't know how to explain it. Like this is what you got for everything you did. It was like your payment.
This is your reward.
This is your reward, right? And so I think, we also have to think about things like that, because if we don't and we go in a different direction and, it could take us down a dark hole. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's hard to come out of those dark holes. Sometimes then, it covers your light and then you don't see things in a better way. And I think that that, being able to see things in that way is helpful, for families. And, and I encourage families to sit down and to get uncomfortable with the, discomfort of talking about this, but we have to normalize it in a way that this is all going to happen. And isn't it great that you could say, well, you're still well, whether you want to be cremated, whether you want a casket, whether you want an open casket,
hearing
or a
about
closed
your
casket,
wishes, what you want for yourself.
We want to celebrate you, and what you did, and we want to be able to do, honor your respects and how you want. And, talking about that trust, a living will also, is in that, where you have to say, if something happens to you, do you want to get revived if your heart stops? All of that kind of stuff. Because those could be some really difficult decisions for your loved ones to make, because they could be very conflicting. They don't know. They could say God's going to save you, but it may be your time. Right? It may be your time. The way I look at it, like, I feel like if your heart stops, then that's God calling you. And, I wouldn't want to be revived. There's all sorts of things that come with that. And
really?
Because I had to go through it when I had my mom, in hospice and all of that, and when they revive you, I mean, almost, they talk about how they could break your ribs, how they could break your chest cavity, how, depending on how much, oxygen you lose, you could be a vegetable. Do you want to live hooked up to a machine?
I think the quality of life is the most essential thing.
Yeah.
Like, am I living or am I just alive?
Right.
Because I told my wife, I told my kids, I told my mother, I was like, listen, if I can't do the things I need to do to run my own life, or I can't work my way back up there, pull it.
Yeah.
Pull it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be laid up in somebody's hospital.
It's not a life for you or your family.
Yeah. I don't want the machines keeping me on. Yeah. No. Yeah. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
So acceptance. And I've known this for years, but sometimes you forget acceptance of where you're going and how life is taking you, and the places you want to go to, and the things you want to put in place, like end of life arrangements and all of that. Like, I feel the moment you accept things, it opens up your eyes. It makes
it's a weight lifted.
Yes, it gives you peace. It gives you, like, and that's how I'm living now. Like, I accept so many things because I can't control them.
Yeah.
And so, like, in speaking about, like, your fears and whatnot, hey, I can't control what's happening. The only thing I can control is me.
Yeah.
And I can make changes with me, but I can't make changes with people who don't want to grow, who want to stay stagnant.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I need to stay there.
Yeah.
I
love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. So.
Oh man.
But like, get a notebook, make appointments. Don't just show up at a funeral home. Like, I say that because I worked at a community college.
I try to get all the information on how to die.
Yeah. I know, right? I'm like, what do you mean you have a service going on now? I'm here now. I'm like,
right.
No.
This is the only time I had.
Right. And that's the thing. You have to make appointments. So many people are used to just showing up and think that that's okay. And it may be okay in certain environments, but that is not the environment that's okay with. You either should schedule, like I said, a phone interview, or you should schedule like an in-person, and then take the family with you. You can take the family, because it's always good to have other people to rely on, because you might miss not asking certain questions and they might remember.
Be considered. Yep.
Yeah, they can tap into that. So I would say is getting an organizer, starting to fill in those, answer those questions, and then write additional questions that you may have before showing up for your appointment.
Yeah. So
that you're ready. And then just don't visit one, go visit 2 or 3 at least. And that way you can compare. And the thing is that you can actually start making payments and make arrangements now.
What do you say to the people that, like, are big into manifestation and saying, like, I think that me going through all these steps of preparation for my inevitable demise will only bring it faster?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah. I think I used to think that way because, so I think, like, sometimes, there's, we call generational curses because I think sometimes, our elders think that way. And so we kind of,
Adopt that
adopted
mindset,
that.
yeah.
And I feel more. And so we have to be careful because our elders, even though they have a lot of knowledge, they also lived in a different time.
Yep.
And it's very different now than
You be
than it was
talking
their
that
time.
stuff.
Yeah, it's very different. I'm telling you, I learned in my old age. It's never too late, man. It's never too late.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So I think we need to kind of accept those things, that there are changes. And again, one of the reasons why you have to be careful who you ask for advice, because you may not be getting the good advice. Hence why some people say, go to a therapist, because it's technically they become your friend, but you're paying for them for their specialty.
Yeah.
So that when they can give you the tools,
Yeah,
the
they got the
proper
resources,
tools
yeah.
and the resources for you. You asking a friend, you're going to get 7 different answers if you ask 7 different friends.
Shit.
Yeah, and
maybe
again,
a bunch of opinions.
and lots of unsolicited opinions too, right?
I do gotta ask. So, well, you kind of said it earlier about unsolicited advice. Well, no, we didn't talk about. You said opinions and advice.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about unsolicited advice?
I think you have to be careful with that now. Like when you, like in my growth, I feel like sometimes I get DM'd unsolicited things, you know, and I'm like, why are you DMing me? Why aren't you not putting this publicly?
Yeah,
you
put it in the comment section, homie.
Grow a pair, Just
That's
saying.
a fact.
Just saying, it's like, yeah, because sometimes people are quick to say things, but they're not looking in the mirror. Or when they look in the mirror, they don't see themselves. How about that? And so you have to be careful. That's why you have to. I always used to tell students, right? I worked in higher ed, and so students would come and say, "Oh, my friend said this. Oh, and my friend got this grade, and I got this grade." And I'm like, always go to the source. Friends, they're telling you things based on their experience. That doesn't mean that's correct. That was good for them. Doesn't mean it's going to be a good thing for you.
Yeah.
You want to know what's going on. You want to know how you get into the nursing program. You go to the office and sit down with somebody who can give you the actual information.
That's a fact.
Stop talking all around campus to people who don't know that.
Yeah. And stop going to social media for y'all information too.
Right.
There's way better sources.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. I got an episode coming out in like a week about people just using social media properly and with integrity, because having a social media platform is like a sense of power, and anybody can get famous overnight by going viral for the slightest thing. So to be responsible and use the platforms responsible, because all of everything we say, post, and comment on, it affects somebody on the other end.
Right, correct. And sometimes I've become more aware of that.
But I don't believe in online bullying. I don't think it's a thing.
Yeah.
I don't.
I think like what I try to look is like not everything is good information. So be careful what you're even sharing. Because trust me, I was guilty of that. Sometimes I would share stuff that I didn't read the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, now I got to read the whole thing. And if you see me, sometimes I share a lot of stuff from other podcasters, but then I put my own explanation. Hey, this resonates with this, episode that I had, because for me, that's a teaching moment. Right. I'm using, their words and their, video
to
but
get
I'm also,
your perspective out there as well.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah,
that's something I learned in higher ed.
That is really smart. Like I share other podcasters' things, and I'll just be like, dope point, or what do you guys think about this? Like, in a lot of it is things that I have spoken on my podcast about, and just nobody has heard it yet. So that's a great tool. Can I steal that?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, it's like, again, it's a growth, and that's why networking is so important too. Like networking with the right people, of course.
I mean, shoot, you see right here, I drove out to Reading to meet this gentleman here. I'd love to connect you with him. He's a really good guy.
Yeah.
He came here. He brought his family out like 2 months ago.
I saw
now.
when
He
I
brought
was
his whole
watching
family
that.
here.
That
and I was like,
dope.
I was like, man, I love this. This is awesome. So I got a lot of respect for that. We are at the hour.
Okay.
I know it probably doesn't feel that way.
I know.
But we have made it.
I know. So like real quick, like please, even like if you've gone through some of these experiences, share them, if you haven't, because again, everybody, if you know anything local, share with people, your experiences, and this video and anything else you put up, because that's, word of mouth is a really still, like, for me, it's old school, but it's still like the
it's
best
still
way.
a great way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a great way to get information, get news for the most part. So I agree.
Yeah, and just remember, this will be the last thing you can do for your family, for your loved ones,
And what they could do for you.
And there were yes, exactly.
And what they could do for you.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you.
Oh my God, no, it's an honor to be here, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I want you to tell the people where they can find you.
Sure.
Okay.
So again, I am the creator and the host and the videographer, the photographer.
She does it all. She's a one-woman team. She does it all.
So no, and I'm not an expert in this. I just started to learn like a year ago. But if you go to my first episode, I talk about. And I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple, I'm on like Amazon, whatever.
Go follow.
Yeah, whatever, you're more comfortable with. And it's the Attitude Lounge podcast, but it's about positive attitudes, right? Because we could have bad attitudes, right? But it's about turning things around so that you can have clarity and you can use the negative and like in end of life, right? It's so tabooed. Mm-hmm. You can change that around and say, normalize it and say, no, we know this is going to happen, but think about if you have all this in place, now you can relax and you can go have quality of life with your family because
celebrate the life.
Yes,
celebrate the life.
Celebrate every moment that you can.
Yes.
And yes, there's a cost, but the way I look at it is if you get your nails done, if you go on vacation, if you have a car payment, then you could put money aside.
Couple dollars.
Start anywhere, any which way you can.
Go get life insurance.
Yeah.
Go get life insurance. Talk to someone to see how much it'll cost for you because everybody's a little bit different. To get life insurance, get what you need, get excess if you plan on being a lot bigger than what you are at that time, whatever you need. But there's a lot of places out there. There's places you can get on your app in 2 minutes and have life insurance, or you can go through companies like State Farm or Geico for it.
Or you may be working for a company already that provides that.
Yeah, they might have something too, along with the 401k and health plans.
Yeah, so you got to look into it because sometimes,
ask questions.
Yes, companies even have their own financial consultant. Make sure you're making appointments with that. That's a free service to you.
Yeah.
So plan your retirement, plan end of life, plan everything.
Use all the resources at your disposal. Ask questions and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. This is Ram Dass. I'm not sure if you know who Ram Dass is, but he was a spiritualist and he died a while back, but he said, we're all just walking each other home.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
We're all just walking each other home.
Yeah.
And I love that definition because it doesn't matter who comes in or out of your life, however much time you spend with them, you guys have that interaction. And at that time, you guys are together in that present moment, Yeah. And I'll see you at another point. I might not run into you for 2 years. Might have heard, but in a couple years, I'll run into you again.
Yeah.
We're all walking each other home.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to end it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any shout out you want to give? Any final things you want to let the people know before we close up shop here?
Oh my God, I don't know. I want to give a shout out to my friend Beatrice because that saying about it was from her mother.
Oh, okay.
And to the point that isn't it like you could do so many things if you look at things with a better attitude, with a different attitude.
Yes.
Stop doing things the old ways. We're living in a different life.
Time.
Yeah.
I tell my son all the time, you can control your attitude and your effort. That's it.
Yeah. Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to give you a shout out, man, for having me here. Definitely if you follow me, go follow this guy too.
And if you follow me, go follow.
Help a girl out, man. I'm just learning in my old age and one of the things that's been really great that I've been learning from people that are so much younger than me, and now I don't have to be the educator. I become the student, and I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Oh, that's dope. I'm glad I can help in any way, shape, or form. You know.
Follow, share,
Yes.
and don't be afraid to talk about these topics. You know, the more we normalize things and we accept things for what they are. I'm telling you, like you get this sense. That's how you create peace in your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's how things start shedding off, and all the weight comes off your shoulders and things like that.
And then you just gotta get through the day.
Yeah.
You gotta make it through the day as best as you can.
Yeah.
I like that.
So shout out, much love to everybody.
Yes. I want to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for showing up. Make sure you go follow. All the links will be in the description below. If this is your first time here, I hope you stick around. If you've been here, make sure you continue to spin the block. And I want to say thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for supporting us, supporting
real.
the show, being part of the community. Make sure you shoot for the moon. If you miss, you still amongst the stars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peace.
I've been on my grind just to live it out. Say what's on your mind just to hear it loud. Everybody knows me, really that's the old me. Going through some changes right here and now. I've been on my grind just to live it out. Say what's on your mind just to hear it loud. Everybody knows me, really that's the old me. Going through some changes right here and now. I've been on my grind just to live it out. Say what's on your mind just to hear it loud. Everybody knows me, really that's the old me.